My dad wouldn't respect my privacy and kept opening up all my mail, so I did the same to him and found out he was cheating on my mom. I, 24F, don't want to say what I do for work, but let's just say it's the type of job that includes a lot of written letters from clients that are supposed to be confidential and only for my eyes. I'm fresh out of college and living with my parents so I can finish paying off school. My work letters, of course, go to my parents' address since they live miles away from a post office, and driving to a P.O. box is a huge pain. The issue started with my father. Ever since high school, when I received mail, my dad would open it. Whenever I received Christmas or birthday cards in the mail with money in them, my dad would hand me the card and insist he'd keep the money safe for me until I demanded he hand it over. Any package I ordered for myself, he would open and hand to me. Sometimes the products were used by him as well. The final straw was when he received my acceptance letter to my dream college and, instead of waiting for me to come home to open it, he opened it himself and called me while I was at work to congratulate me. I've spoken to my mother about how much this makes me feel uncomfortable, and she told me she'd speak to my father about it, to which he would apologize and not do it for a week before doing it again the next week. I had also spoken to my dad about the confidentiality of the mail I would be receiving now that I'm working, and he said he understood, but it all came crashing down a few weeks ago. While I was working, my dad came into my room and handed me opened envelopes from my clients and even tried to have a conversation about them with me, but I just ignored him until he got the hint and left. After work, I yelled at him for violating client confidentiality, to which he got defensive and said that I live in his house and any mail sent to his house would be read by him. Furious, that next week I thought I would take revenge on my father by going to the mailbox and reading his mail. But what I found was what ended my relationship with him. I had found credit card statements for jewelry and restaurants that were too fancy for my dad to go to alone, and I don't remember the last time my dad took my mom on a date or bought her any jewelry. I also found a letter addressed to my dad from a woman who stated how tired she was of hiding this relationship for so long and how desperate she was for his letters to reach her. When my dad noticed the mailbox was empty, he ran back into the house as white as a ghost. He walked into the kitchen to see me and my mom reading his mail. Before the fighting could start, my mom asked me to leave the house. So I drove to my aunt's, who lives 45 minutes away, and explained everything. I came back after 2 days when my dad's stuff was gone. My mom told me my dad is living in a hotel and she will be in contact with a divorce attorney. Turns out my dad had been having an affair with a family friend, and they were hiding it through letters to leave no digital footprint. My dad ended up showing my mom the stash of letters he had, and she took photos of each and every single one before she asked him to leave. I feel at fault because I initially wanted to be petty with my dad, but it unraveled into this huge event and made me think, no wonder he's been looking through my stuff. He was giving himself away. I feel like I shattered my mom's world since I can hear her cry every night about it since the incident. /relevant comments. Commenter. I feel at fault because I initially wanted to be petty with my dad, but it unraveled into this huge event. Nope, your dad is the guilty party here. In the US, it's illegal to open other people's mail. It's unethical to read, let alone discuss, confidential information, especially when it's not even your job. Finally, your dad was cheating on your mom and clearly not giving her the attention and respect she deserves. He made the mess, you simply tripped over it. Update 1 day later. Thank you all so much. I wrote this all out last night, drunk out of my mind, and I never expected this much kindness from strangers. I'll go ahead and answer a few questions here and then give an update. Was my dad using my money from the gifts to buy stuff for his mistress? I'm 50-50 on this answer. I received cards when I was young with money, and it was the same routine. Aunts and uncles would leave $100 per card, and my dad always gave them to me when I was younger. As I got older, obviously the money reduced to $20, $40. I do believe my dad would give me back half the money in those cards, which would make sense as to how he was able to make such huge expenses on his mistress. I need to collect proper evidence, so I plan on calling my aunts, uncles, and other relatives who would send me money. The mistress would send letters addressed as a business or a credit card company. If you ask me, they were doing the most. When my mom would check the mail, she would see the letters that were addressed to my dad as bills or some crazy BS and never open them because she doesn't handle the bills. A lot of packages were sent by the mistress as well, which is why he went through my packages, and I don't want to imagine what kind of crap she was mailing him. Now for the update. Like I said before, it's been a few weeks since it happened. I've been doing my best to comfort my mother while she deals with all the legal business and my dad's constant appeals to her to apologize and beg for forgiveness. I've been an ear to listen to her, and she keeps spiraling between wanting to forgive him and cursing him to hell. I told her my own personal opinion, which was to never take back a cheater. She did basically everything for him, and she shouldn't see it as her not being enough for him. That's his fault for not appreciating her. The mistress was also a married woman. My mom reached out to her husband, sending him the letters she had taken photos of, and even had a long phone call with him about what was going on. He initiated the divorce, and the mistress is now angry at my father for not being more careful. The mistress's ex-husband, who I'll call Henry, has been a best friend of my mom's throughout the legal cases. I hear the mistress is still reaching out to forgive him, which I honestly think is very funny since my dad is doing the same thing. She was financially dependent on Henry, and my dad isn't making enough at his job to support the lifestyle she wants. Yesterday, Henry asked my mom to come out to lunch with him. They've been sad shut-ins for the past few days, and they agreed to go and get some fresh air. I encouraged my mom to do so and to call me if my dad or the mistress decided to show up when they went, just so I could pick her up. My dad hasn't apologized to me at all about reading my mail. In fact, he's called me and left me voicemails telling me that this whole situation was my fault, then going on and crying, saying he regrets everything and hopes he can still be my dad. I honestly don't know what to do with him right now other than ignore him. I don't know if there will be another update, but I will post one if something major happens. Again, thank you so much for the supportive comments, and I hope some of what I said clears things up for you all. Second update 1 year later. Hi guys, it's been a full year since it happened, and I wanted to update you all. A few months after the post, my mom sat me and my younger sister, 20F, down to talk about her interest in possibly going on a date with Henry. Obviously, we were thrilled. They've been dating for almost a year now, and I'm happy for them. Henry treats my mother with far more respect than my father ever did. She glows with joy whenever he's around. Our biological father was putting more mental strain on her than we realized. She went from being a shy, soft-spoken person to a strong, confident woman, and I couldn't be happier. As for our father and his mistress, they got married immediately after my mother and Henry did. I didn't speak to my father other than the occasional text from him asking how I was doing or requesting some cash. After they got married, neither of their families supported the marriage. They got black-sheeped, respectfully. They tried to sue for money, but the case fell through in my mother and Henry's favor. I stopped talking to him completely when he spent a month harassing my sister for money. He called her repeatedly, texted her, and even showed up at her college, to the point where the dean had to have him escorted off campus. That's when Mom got us a harassment protection order. Now he can only contact us if he wants to meet, which is rare, or in the case of a medical emergency. My sister and I haven't heard from him since. That didn't stop the mistress, though. It turns out the reason my father was hounding us for money was because he got her pregnant. She wants expensive everything, and he is pulling everything out of his rear to satisfy her. She ended up being the one harassing my sister until she showed up at our door, demanding to speak to Henry about how he left a poor pregnant woman with nothing. Henry is a man who takes no BS. He opened the door, looked her dead in the eyes, and told her, "Was it not cruel to cheat on your husband when he provided you with a home, designer bags, nice cars, trips, and all the love in the world? You have no right to call me cruel after everything you've used me for, and you're lucky I didn't demand any money back." He shut the door, and she ended up throwing a huge fit, even faked her water breaking with a water bottle. Police escorted her to the hospital, and luckily, we were able to show them everything through our Ring doorbell. Thank you, everyone, for your support in my story. I hope none of you have to go through a mess like this. Top/relevant comments. Commenter. Honestly, I'll be surprised if this marriage even lasts more than 5 years. It was more of a marriage of convenience, since they've been shunned and had no one else to turn to. She'll cheat on him, especially since she wants someone with money, something he doesn't have. It'll all come crashing down soon enough.